appreciate your time today.
Yeah, brother. Absolutely, man. No worries.
So, just to give everybody a brief little intro, we are here talking with John Hancock. He is the feature of Gravitas Ventures' new documentary, Bastards Road. Uh, Man, what a personal and emotional journey you allowed us to go through with you, and I appreciate that, and thank you for that. And I know you hear a lot, but I have to say it again. Thank you for your service. It's much appreciated.
Yeah, no worries, man. I'm just glad that I'm glad I didn't die on the road, and I'm glad the story came out.
It is. It's great. I think it's going to change a lot of people's opinions, maybe on some of the things that they think of as far as some of the after effects of veterans coming home, troops coming home from overseas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really hope it does too, and I think this is a good way to bring the civilian populace into the conversation that veterans are tired of having.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that needs to happen. It should have happened a long time ago, but I'm happy that it's on the trajectory it's on now, and that we are seeing more involvement from the civilian population in veteran issues. And this is going to do nothing but compound that, and I love that.
So how was that for you to have, this really, really personal moment where you're trying to really find your place in the world after everything you've been through and having it documented, having a camera on you?
I kind of at first I was very reticent about doing this, and I didn't think it was going to be the move. I didn't start out this walk deciding to build a documentary. I didn't want that. I had no aspirations for it. And then, Brian had called me when I was in Slidell, Louisiana, and it just kind of I was like, all right, yeah, we'll give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst thing that happened? We just make a shitty movie, and then and then it's over. But you know, along the way, I was so lonely all the time out on the road. If I wasn't visiting with a brother or a Gold Star family, I was walking by
Mhm.
myself. So, it was actually kind of nice to have Brian there, and then it just kind of turned into the camera disappeared. I forgot it was ever there because I'm the same person on and off camera. So I'm not I'm I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, I'm all these things. But it just kind of felt natural. And after a while, I totally forgot the camera was even there.
That sounds like a good experience. Tell me, what were some of the biggest challenges? You already mentioned loneliness, and obviously, I'm going to say physical fatigue is another one about your
Oh yeah.
walk.
Yeah, absolutely. Physical fatigue and blisters. I was constantly getting blisters. I never gave my feet a chance to heal ever and callus up.
Ooh, okay.
So those blisters would just be more and more blisters. And then they would just be blisters on top of blisters, and that was always that was really trying. But honestly, I think the most difficult thing for me was to kind of find it emotionally again, find myself and understand what I'm feeling, why I'm feeling it, and where that is coming from.
Hmm.
And being out alone on the road for so long, you learn where your like what causes your emotions and what memory is associated with that emotion and what spikes when those memories come up. And I guess the largest challenge was to learn how to access those memories again without finding myself at the bottom of a bottle or something. And that this walk really did show me that. And while it was extremely emotionally taxing, I think it was also a huge growth opportunity that I undertook.
As you traveled, you got to visit a lot of your brothers, and they're obviously in different situations, and some of them are on a ranch, and vice versa. What were you taking away little lessons from each of them to maybe help you out?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime I would see a brother interact with his wife or his kids or something, it was, hey, I like that. And just listening to them and listening to their experiences after war and what they've gone through, it was all, we just took everything from each other. And it was just a real big benefit, I think all of us walked away with.
I think one thing that I took away from it is you are really, asking other veterans to just really be honest with themselves, and it's okay to be emotional. It's okay to feel the way you do, and that there's always going to be somebody that you can talk to that's been through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, that's if anybody takes anything away from this on the veteran side of the house, it has to be that opening up about your experiences is not wrong, and it's needed, and it's needed for your mental health, and probably for your brothers as well, who may be struggling to share their own experiences. And we create that support network within us, and it never goes away, and it's tried and true, and it's harder than iron.
How much more difficult is it to share those kinds of feelings and emotions with somebody who hasn't been through it?
Um, that's a great question. It is more difficult, because, and I think it's difficult for me, or it was in the beginning for me, because my fear was being judged by someone who hadn't gone through it, and that has happened a bunch of times. And you get called baby killer, you get called all sorts of things. People sit in dark corners of the internet and type mean shit to people
Hmm.
because they're unhappy with their own life. You kind of have to walk away from that. But when you finally get someone like Brian, for instance, who was interested, not necessarily in making a documentary, but interested in learning about another human being, that's how this documentary came to be so good. It's because
Hmm.
he didn't start out with the idea of, oh, I'm going to make this documentary. He started out with an idea of, I need to learn more about this guy. I need to understand who this person is and what it took for him to just set out on a road like this. And so when people finally start listening uh, without without having some preconceived judgment or notion, that's where the conversation begins to really develop, and you make good headway with strangers that way.
Speaking of which, there's always that don't judge a book by its cover. You shared a couple of experiences on the documentary, or moments on the road where people think you're just a homeless guy, or or get off my property,
Yep.
and then the realization hits, and obviously a light switch flips, of course, and the perception is a lot different. How
Yeah.
was the general reception to you throughout your journey?
When I started off, I thought 99.9% of the population was bad, was, whatever. And as I continued to walk in every single state, except, no, every single state, I was received by strangers after they would see little news articles and stuff. And they'd play, well, Where's Waldo, except it'd be Where's Hancock. And they'd go find me on the road, and then they'd be like, all right, you're done walking for the day. Hop in this car. I'm driving you back 30 miles to my house. Here's a hot meal. Do some laundry. Here's a bed. Here's a shower. And that happened all over the United States. People I'd never met, people that had no association with the military whatsoever. And so, while, yes, sure, I was judged, and as the hair got longer and the beard got longer, it's kind of hard to dispel the idea that I am homeless. I do have a massive ruck, and I'm just walking. So they're like, "That's a homeless man." And but yeah, I experienced a lot more good than bad across the nation.
Just a curious question about your walk. What were the top five songs on your playlist, or what was your top podcast you were listening to?
Oh, dude. Okay, so top five songs were, there's probably two from Need to Breathe. Um, Actually, you know what? I think I even have my walking playlist still on. I do. I literally, yeah, I
Nice.
have it. That's dope. All right, hang on. Let me go get into this real quick. We can find out exactly what it is. Um, okay, so let's see. Jams, there it is. Muddy Waters, LP. Skewed on the Barbie by Outkast. Broken Bones and Pocket Change by St. Paul and the Broken Bones. And then Blood and Wine, Dustin Kendrew, and The World by Charles Bradley. Those are the top five.
Right on. Any
Yeah.
podcasts while you're on the road?
No, no, man. It'd suck up too much battery.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, that
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so I couldn't stream all that, which was kind of a bummer, but we'll see. I started getting into podcasts after the walk and started listening to a few different ones. There's a couple good veteran ones out there. I've been on a few. So it's pretty neat. But yeah, there's also a lot of them where you're like, all right, I don't know if I can listen to this.
That's true. There's a few shows I feel about like that. 20
Right.
minutes, you got me sold. The next 20 minutes, I'm off.
Right. Yeah,
Completely.
for sure.
One of the things I found interesting that Brian was mentioning that you hadn't seen any of the interviews during the filming
Yeah.
process.
No, 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 none. I was, every time we'd go to a house, if it wasn't, like Mac and I are sitting on the back porch, and of course that's like an interview between the two of us, it's just conversation. So of course I was privy to that. But when Brian would interview all my brothers, he would he'd be like, "All right, go outside, go do something, go away." And I was like, "Yep, all right, I'll leave." So I'd borrow my buddy's truck and go down somewhere. I don't know. I'd go to a park or I'd walk around or something. But yeah, I was never allowed to see those, and I think I also chose not to see those interviews. I wanted to give my brothers the same isolation with Brian that I had, so that they could also, feel him out and gauge, where they wanted to go with their story.
Hmm. And what
And
was
I,
that like that for you to see it all in the end?
it was it was emotional, to say the least. But there were things that I learned about my brothers that we hadn't talked about before,
Oh,
and
okay.
so that was really neat to see that, and also to see my brothers open up to a complete stranger on camera. You could ask those guys a million times over, and they would never in a million years say they were gonna sit on camera and talk about their feelings. It just wasn't in the cards for any of us. And so to see it and to see them truly open up, you started to see healing and growth after combat from all my boys, and I loved it. I loved every minute of it.
Brian did mention that, and the level of respect that your brothers have for you, that when you said he was on the level, that's all they needed.
Yeah, and that's really how we work. Word is bond with us, and that's it. And if someone needs something or someone asks something of another brother, it's done.
Can you talk a little bit about uh give it to me because I don't know. How does that bond form overseas between you and your brothers? What are some of the events that take place
It's
where it makes you guys a brotherhood for life?
it's outside of combat, it's the daily routine of being in the military and being a young military, being a young Marine, and having to go through the suck and just dealing with things and field ops and rain and just you're suffering together, all you're cold, wet, miserable all the time, and you're just suffering together. And that bond really is formed that way. And then, it only enhances or tightens its grip when combat is introduced. And it's not the fear, but once the reality of your death or your mortality is put into question, and the mortality of your brothers, you fight harder to make sure they get to come home. And that's really how it all continues to form. And because now you're the 0.01% of the population who has experienced full on combat, and you are a very small group.
Hmm.
And I think that's why. It's because you're a small group. You've put your life in another man's hands. You've asked him to do the same. It's been done, and you guys have both suffered and succeeded together.
So, we talked a little bit about you seeing, your brothers talk about you. What was it like to see you from the beginning to the end?
Uh, yeah, that was kind of weird. I'm not an egoist or anything, but I mean, I'm pretty good on the camera. Well,
You did
it's
well.
it's it's odd, it's surreal, and the other day, well, hell, it was probably like 3 weeks ago or whatever when iTunes came up on the pre-order for the documentary, right? And so I go on to the TV, and holy shit, there's my face on the TV, and I can pre-order my own film, and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening right now. It was pretty interesting, but I think ultimately, even when I see the film, and I've seen every iteration of it from when it was 3 hours to now in its finality of an hour and what 38 minutes. I do see the growth and the transformation that was taking place inside me, and it's apparent. You see it throughout the film, but to see it and then understand that you've done that, it's a it's definitely it's definitely a mind game.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed it, and you did very well. And yes, you are very good on camera. I'll give you that there.
Well,
What
thanks, brother.
one serious question I wanted to ask you is about. I have to review movies and TV shows all the time with all types of different actors and actresses portraying all kinds of roles. One of the roles um, sometimes comes up is a role of an actor actress who's dealing with PTSD or
Yeah.
dealing with coming back from war. I have a co-host from LRM Mornings who also is a veteran, and
Mhm.
he is often very upset at the way that Hollywood portrays uh, veterans.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, listen, man, he's not wrong. That Hollywood, and I'll say this till I'm blue in the face, and I don't care who I offend. Hollywood gets it wrong 100% of the time. They have never gotten it right because Hollywood is more focused on the sensationalism of a story versus truly telling a story, and they don't care. So they Ridley Scott will look at somebody and be like, "Oh, did you get shot in combat?" Be like, "Yeah." Be like, "Oh, well, you got shot in the face then." And it's like, dude, well, that's not true. So all these things happen, and Hollywood continues to pervert mental health, and especially mental health in veterans, because it sells quickly. Because one, I think we have a society that is focused on something that I kind of dubbed militainment. It's that
yeah.
military entertainment idea, right? And the ignorance surrounding combat and the desire maybe to experience it or understand it really kind of creates almost a bloodlust in entertainment. And so, well, my dog's doing things.
It's
Sorry.
okay.
You're good. All right. My dog's eating things. He
Oh.
does that. But no. So bottom line is Hollywood works on this sensationalism idea, and they don't care if they get it right or not. They care about their bottom line and does that
Mhm.
sell, and that's where it's at. So it's incumbent upon us as veterans to tell our own stories and not allow Hollywood the opportunity to continue to pervert it. So movies like this documentary, I look forward to others, seeing this and understanding, hey, I can tell my own story too. Screw Hollywood, and then they go figure it out.
Mhm.
It's the move, and it's the move for all veterans to if we want to take something away, then take that away, and just do it yourself, and you take it away from them.
Yeah, yeah, because I think one of the problems that he's had and I've had too, sometimes they'll even they'll even make it the focal point. I think it was an episode of Grey's Anatomy where it was a PTSD.
Oh yeah, I remember watching that one with my
Yeah,
wife. Yeah,
yeah,
it
and
was ridiculous.
it's the portrayal that if somebody's going through it and they're having these issues, it's almost hopeless, almost like you need to be super careful because these people could turn violent at any second.
Right,
When in fact it's while there are those cases, it's the extreme end,
right,
correct?
right.
And so it gives the general audiences the idea that you guys are all just messed up that way.
Yep, absolutely. And that's where all that crazy veteran bullshit comes from. And Hollywood perpetuates it. So for us to, you know, put the axe on it and stop it, then that's what we have to do. And films like this do just that. And I don't care what director, whoever, wants to argue with me. Bring it on, man. Like, come on.
I 100% agree with you, and I agree with my co-host Kyle, and I am very very grateful for a film like Bastards Road because I learned quite a bit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm gonna be honest with you, a little intimidated talking with you because I felt like I didn't have the right to ask some of these questions.
Oh no, brother, absolutely, man. I'm an open book, man, and that's I think that's really what also this film is about is giving the civilian populace an overwhelming amount of information about what one guy has experienced coming home, so that they don't necessarily have to feel intimidated or ask or feel like they're asking dumb questions because
Mhm.
maybe some of their questions have already been answered, and now that segues right into just a conversation with another man who just so happens to be a combat vet.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah,
It's
brother.
been such a pleasure, and I look forward to sharing this with everyone. Look forward to everyone checking out Bachelor's Road. And what are you up to now?
I started a nonprofit called Bastards Road Project. So we're a 501(c)(3). You can check it out at bastardsroadproject.org. And I take veterans out on long distance hikes.
Right
And
on.
so I show them kind of what I experienced, and then I give them the tools to experience a little bit of that growth themselves over about anywhere from 20 to 40 miles over 2 to 4 days or something like that. So we've done one already. We've got another one coming up in August. We're focusing on Arizona based veterans right now, and next year we'll open it up for a big application process for vets to come in from across the country, and then we'll keep doing it and get bigger and bigger and just move out to other states and other national parks and just go. Our tagline is walk long distances, figure some shit out, and that's all we do.
That's fantastic. In the film, you had a moment when you were looking out into the meadows and wishing that more of your brothers got to see that.
Yeah,
Guess this is
yeah,
the perfect way to do that. That
and
is
it
fantastic.
absolutely is. And I just wanted to give veterans the opportunity to see some of the most beautiful places they fought for, and then to understand that they are still very strong, both physically and mentally, and they are capable of so much more than they give themselves credit for.
Yeah, that's great. We'll be sure to get the tagline for that and add that in the description, as well as the piece that this will be included in.
Hell yeah, brother.
John, thanks again for your time on a Sunday.
No worries, man.
Get back to your family and have
Cheers.
a good one.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
All right, take care.
Later.